And then, as I graduated from school and started to work in New York and other places and Paris after that, the chef sort of emerged.
So what was it? Was it school graduation and then I'm going New York City?
School graduation right to Paris, basically.
Right to Paris.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Because
Sure.
That's what, I love that because, I don't know, do you think cooks are still doing the European training thing these days?
Well, they're not, and for good reason. First of all, there's YouTube. You can learn everything you need to learn. Probably
all the mother sauces.
Yeah, the best teacher is going to be YouTube at this point. It's very patient. You can, you can replay over and over.
Nothing gets thrown at you.
Yeah, totally. Yell at you. If there's really good camera angles, there's usually a narrative.
Maybe we should start a YouTube channel where we do yell at the person.
I know, make them feel like the old days.
Like you suck.
Yeah, exactly. Do that over.
Yeah. Press stop and go to bed. And see you tomorrow morning.
Don't forget, chefs used to travel because we usually didn't have the skills in our hometown to learn. There was usually not someone in our hometown who could teach us the world-class skills. So we always, dreamed about Switzerland and France and Italy to learn the secrets. I still think it's a great way to learn, but it's not required anymore.
How did you get to Paris? So who inspired you to get there? And
Robert Windhorst is the name of the chef. A lot of Germanic people.
I was about to say, everything
Robert
makes
Windhorst, if you're
much
still
more
around,
sense about you.
Thank you, buddy. He was my chef during my internship at the Marriott Marquis. Turns out there was a great European chef working in my outlet. They used to call them outlets back then. Yeah. The outlet was called Encore. It was a restaurant that spun on its axis. So he got me a job in Paris with a chef named Dominique Cession. Only he didn't get me the job. He told me he got me a job.
So you showed up.
So I showed up, and the guy's like, "Who are you?" Yeah, basically.
I love that.
The guy said, "No, I spoke to Robert. We talked about getting you a job, but you need this and this and this and this visa and that visa and the other visa, and basically I've got nothing for you, but you could sleep at my house tonight."
Yeah.
And so I never forget this scene of me on the back of his Vespa, driving from the 1st arrondissement to the 13th, which is basically the suburbs, crying my eyes out. I had to leave all my luggage somewhere in storage, and I brought a suitcase of chef books and a suitcase of knives and cooking tools, a suitcase of chef coats. I was so into it.
So ready,
so ready, like a young Marine corporal, and but I was only 18 years old, so I didn't know that things like that could go wrong.
Yeah.
But he let me stay at his house. He eventually let me work for him, and he introduced me to Joel Robuchon, who I learned from while I was there, and other great chefs, and it turned out to be an incredible 2 years.
Well, that's amazing.
Absolutely,
Joel Robuchon.
Yeah, absolutely transformational. Learned how to speak French, which back then was a valuable skill.
Totally.
You could come back to New York and work with the best guys, because even Danielle at the time spoke mostly French.
Yeah. So where were you starting in Paris? Did they put you on stocks or plucking pigeon feathers or turning artichokes?
I was on baked potato place.
Baked potato place.
So in Paris, you could, as a lot like with immigrants in New York, you could work at places that were a little dodgy, that wouldn't check papers, right?
Right.
So I had to work at Cactus Charlie's in the 8th arrondissement, and I mentioned this because it's like in New York, if you mention the Village or the Upper West Side, you know what neighborhood it is. In Paris, they have arrondissement, and this place was it was a parody of an American burger place. It even had swinging Western doors. It's insane. It's so funny.
Le hamburger.
Yeah, exactly.
Le hamburger.
So they had 100 kinds of hamburgers. That was their shtick.
Yeah.
And basically, it was a bunch of drunk people throwing up on themselves, and just like all out chaos every night. It was so fun. But my job was to prep the mashed potatoes and the toppings.
I love it.
They had like 100 hamburgers and 100 mashed potato toppings.
So you didn't get to work to the place that you went down
No,
for.
I did eventually,
but
for nothing.
First,
I had to work. So just to survive and make sure I got my my check the next month. So that I could buy a Metro card and all the little things you need. I had to work at Cactus Charlie's, and I remember crying on the line the first night because I'd worked at some pretty good places. Going into Paris, it wasn't totally an experience, and I remember looking at like my baked potato empire and all these burger sauces, and it was all such trash, But it was a great popular place that was super fun. Crying my eyes out.
But your ego was just like, I'm
debating whether I was going to tell my parents about this because I'd pitched them this whole like, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to become a great chef, I'm going to learn from the best, and here I was slopping absolute crap on top of burgers. They weren't even good burgers.
Most fine dining chefs just want to do burgers now.
I know, but they weren't even like delicious crafty burgers because 100 burgers is kind of a great concept.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.